I started working out when I was 15 years old. A lot of it had to do with self-image issues. I wasn't happy with what I saw in the mirror. I didn't feel like how I felt. I I was tired of being pushed around. I was tired of being bullied. I felt disgusted 24/7. I felt weird, emotionally down all the time. You can call it puberty, but in the end of the day, everything from my surroundings from the morning I woke up to the minute I slept, I felt just off or wrong. I remember roughly about 7, 8 years old. Life was great. I mean, like, I felt good as a kid. And then there's a switch. Something happened. You can say it was puberty. A lot of it was stress in the house. We had our ups and downs as a family. A lot of it had to do with financial stress. My dad went through, he was very successful as a guy at one point, and then eventually got to the point where his runaway in terms of his finances were like in a few months, and basically we were done. So he was very stressed, and his inability to manage his stress during those tough times, which I don't hold anything against him, made him react and temperamental in a way where he probably could have reacted a lot better. And because he reacted in certain ways towards us not behaving a certain way, made me hold a grudge towards him, or made me not want to open up a little bit. So it made me basically emotionally dependent on myself. Because as a kid, you're trying to grow up, you're trying to look for, like, you can say you're trying to get through life. And every time you open up, someone just reacts in a negative way. You just eventually kind of realize, well, fuck. At that point in my life, like, mom was at work. She was a stay-at-home mom, but she eventually started going to work. Dad went to work. Brother and I used to butt heads a lot. Love him to death now, but growing up, we used to butt heads a lot. So it was a weird time, but I saw inspiration in a guy at school, and he was good looking, jacked, tall, had the fancy car, had the grades. Everyone didn't really show me respect. Not many people showed me respect, but he did. And then eventually he gave me a workout plan in the back of class. This is pre-internet, dial-up days. I wrote on a piece of paper, basically off the top of his head. He said, follow this program. It was basically a 4-day split: back, chest, arms, shoulders, core, legs, something like that. It was a 3-day split, sorry. Very generic machines and dumbbells exercise program. I skipped legs for the first like 3-4 years. Ironically, doing the legs is where I really leveled up physically, mentally. Just the amount of strength, mental strength, and someone who's a hard gainer like me, where everything did not come easy. Doing my legs completely transformed my life. That's a whole different conversation. But eventually it was during those times where I kind of realized, oh my God, holy shit, after a workout like this, whoa, like, I was like, this time slot on a 24-hour time period, that hour, and dragged on. Every time I went through it, I was just like, I don't want to leave this state. I gotta be in this state. I don't want to go back into that other state. So I was hooked. Eventually, don't get me wrong, I was like anyone who just started. It was like, okay, he just told me have protein after me. He didn't tell me how much grams of protein, so I had to learn this on my own. Everything I had to learn on my own. A lot of it to learn on my own. Or obviously I used the people around me. I was proactive. I asked everyone in the gym, or I hung around these people who were high performers, who were where they were. Or I saw someone squat deep. I was like, how do you do that? How do you get that down that deep? Or was strong? I asked them these questions. So I was proactive in that sense. I really wanted to change. I really wanted it, because I said, oh, it's very simple. And I hated my self-image. I hated the way I looked, like, visually. I didn't like my nose, my ears, my chin, everything was just in a negative light. It was just dark. But I was like, very simple. Jacked people with a body have good-looking faces for the most part. Like, it's really, really, really hard to find a really ugly person with a good body. It's very hard. Very, very hard. So I made that correlation. I'm just like, okay, cool. And all I wanted to do was just get jacked and be attracted towards myself and some kind of females. I was getting good grades in school. I was an A+, A-, B- student. Except fucking like French and English. Language is horrible. Probably why I swear so much. Or probably why I don't speak French in Montreal. But yeah, like, but eventually my grades went, the last 2 years, which the grades mattered, the grade 12 and 11, maybe ended 10 too. My grades went from like A minus, A, B plus, B minus, to like D plus, C minus, C. My parents are freaking worried, and they're going through financial stresses right now. They're like, what the hell's wrong with this kid? I don't want to open up to them. I was like, because I mean this in the nicest way. I saw my issues from my parents. And what am I going to do? Tell them, hey, mom and dad, you know the issues you passed on to me? Yeah, I need help fixing that. What? How are they going to fix it? like I knew as a kid, I know a lot of kids growing up. If you got kids, you better solve your self-image issues. It's going to be passed down to them. As much as you can hide it, like, well, they won't know I'm out of shape. Do you go on the beach? You wear a bikini? Do you wear like are you like? You gotta think about that. Well, no, but how will they know? Because you don't do it. It's as simple as that. Kids are not stupid, or they'll just notice your energy's different. And that's the most important thing. It's growing up. It's just I sensed something was off, and because I sensed something was off, I absorbed it. Because I absorbed it, my behavior changed. Because my behavior changed, that's part of who I became growing up. So I realized after those workouts, it completely transformed my life. It got me through university, and university wasn't a breeze for me. It took me 9 years to finish university through 3 different programs. I ended up in kinesiology because I realized I really just like working out. It's transformed my life. It can add 20 years to my fucking life. Who doesn't want to look good and feel good every single day? It was like a no-brainer. Yeah, now we come out in society, people are like debating this. It's like, yeah, I don't have time to work, I'm stressed. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, I don't need time for my body. I gotta pay my bills. I'm like, okay, go try to pay your bills in a very stressed manner. People don't get that body that you're trying to build, that body, that physique you really want, is the answer to your stresses. Because when you numb your stresses, when you go through something physically demanding and hard, it puts you in such a grateful attitude. You're just happy to be alive. It's like, okay, if I miss this bill, it's not the end of the world. I'll figure it out. You're positive. You see only things in a positive light. You're in a very proactive manner. And then obviously when you can pay those bills, you do it in a positive manner. I've been jacked out of my mind, and this is what people also have to understand. I got to a point in my life where part of my vision was I've always wanted to become a pro athlete. I knew my parents wouldn't approve of it. I knew they wanted me to go to school, become an engineer or one of those engineer doctors, just something of a higher status so they can be proud of me, which is like any Middle Eastern parent. But I wanted to become an athlete. I knew it was a pipe dream, and I knew they wouldn't approve of it. So I told myself, let me get to a point. I know this sounds kind of like crazy. Let me get to a point where I'm so strong. I'm stronger than elite athletes, Olympians, that caliber, natural, without PEDs. I've done PEDs, but that was my goal. Let me get to that point such that if I ever want to become an athlete, I've already built it. And because I know how to coach myself to it, I know how to coach other people to it. So worst case scenario, I know how to build a lean and strong body ground up. Because I knew people, in the end, they didn't want to just pose and look good in a picture. They want to walk down the street, feel confident, have a good posture, be fluid and relaxed. Because we can sense other people's energy. We can tell if they're emotionally grounded. We can see how stiff they are. What is actually a sign of people's confidence is their posture and how stiff they are. If they're very fluid and relaxed and emotionally grounded, cool and calm, right? And they're very wide as they walk, versus very reserved and tight, it says a lot about their character as a human being. So I knew that. I'm like, I want to move like an athlete. I want to be very confident, strong in terms of who I am. I want it all. I want to be that guy. So I said, worst case scenario, I'll build that. So lucky for me, I was around some phenomenal mentors. We're talking about coaches who coached Olympian coaches, like these kind of caliber. I picked their brains for whatever reason. We resonated, and I had to learn so much from these people, or people who were did masters under them, or people who were really just smart guys in the gym. I got to know them. I asked them a lot of questions, and over time, after I eventually became a trainer at my university, because again, I just love helping people grow stronger and leaner. And if I can do it as fast as possible, holy shit. And eventually I knew, like I said, people want to move well. They don't just want to look good. They just want to move well eventually. So eventually I was a trainer for 4 years in the gym. I saw all the good habits. I saw all the behaviors. I saw the changes in the energy. I saw the changes in my surroundings. I saw all my friends eventually started wanting to work out more often. And it's because of how I carried myself eventually. Eventually, at one point, my life was completely chaotic. I had the body. I wanted to party. I fell into this loophole trap, and I understand how a lot of top-end athletes, when they hit their peak, their goal, they kind of lose a few screws. They party too much, and all that energy gets dived into drugs, alcohol, partying, any sort of vices, and they slip, and all that. Now their character is kind of like disrupted. And then eventually all my friends kind of slip with working out too, because now they're like, oh yeah, I guess it doesn't make you that happy. It doesn't give you the financial gains. It doesn't. And then in reality, it does put you in a certain position where it gives you such a strong potential and opportunity to give you such a level of confidence where I believe I can do anything I put my mind to. I don't think people have an advantage over me. Like from a genetic standpoint, but don't get me wrong, some people who are just gifted, like reading or some kind of mathematics, just the general basic shit. Maybe you're not going to be a multi-billionaire, but you're making $100 million. I'm happy with that. But guess what? I'm lean and strong at the same time. I mean, like, I want to walk down the street and like, that guy's not just great. He's different. That's my goal. And it's not for everybody. I'd say for 1 out of every 100 people. Most people really walking down the streets, like there's 10 people to rock on, they fucking probably hate my existence. They're like people who accepted weakness and try to promote it because it's a fragile ego. These people are just like, they're pawns. They would never survive a battle or anything difficult. They just have to accept that's the reality of the situation. And then there's maybe like a handful of people who really want to get strong, and there's 1 out of every 100 who are just complete. These are my people. Now you're like, 1 out of every 100 people? That's not a lot of people. It's actually a fucking lot of people. 1 out of every 100 out of 9 billion people, I believe it's, do the math, is that, how much is that, 90 million? 100 times 90 is about, yeah, that's a lot. It's basically 100 million people. If the world population, you get the point. It comes down to perspective. It's like, who really fucking wants it? And then there's obviously 9 people who are going to be elites out of the 100 they're not like the one out of, yeah, there's a lot of people on this planet who probably want to like transform to that extent. Like 10% of the population really want to grow, like generally are actively doing it. 10% of 9 billion people is 900 million. La-di-da, you can't be one of those people. It comes down to perspective. So I realized by me just training every single day and putting myself in a positive mental attitude, grateful by overcoming something difficult, and then I get the physique and I get the body and I become athletic and I can have the confidence at the age of 35 where people are like losing, they're stressed, they're aging, they're getting weathered. I moved to Montreal with fucking nothing, man. Like, I've been bankrupt, I've been failing school, relationship issues, I've been taken advantage of, I've been in massive, like, I've gotten fired, I've gotten anything more or less people have gone through to some degree. I've lost a lot of my weight to the point where like the drugs, I'm telling you from now, if you think you can get lean and jacked and strong and by drinking once a week, it's just not going to happen. You slip because that's what you're going to use to manage your stress. And then the vices, it's what throws everyone off, and eventually you don't become an inspiration. Your energy becomes shifted. I've lost account of how many of my clients, they have to learn it the hard way a lot of times. And it's just part of the process where you get to a certain point, you're so happy with your transformation, you throw all the habits that built you out, and then you slip back to your old stuff, and it's just dark. You have the body, but you're in a darker state. And it even becomes more painful because now you're aware of the pain that you're in, and it's causing life to go dark. When life goes dark, I always say all negative traits, an internal signal you need to level up and change. It's not going to go away till we go back on our path. The path is never ending. I just want to get lean and strong at one point. Now I want to compete at a high level. I want to fight. At one point I just want to get strong. I wanted to get like a 4-plate, 5-plate, 6-plate deadlift, 1-plate, 2-plate, 3-plate bench. I want to be the strongest in the town. Eventually, it morphed. I just keep following the vision. I don't give a fuck where it ends up, because I know eventually maybe it's like, what if you don't become a world-class athlete or a fighter? Or you're too old. I don't care about all that shit, because maybe eventually it will lead me to help my kid down the road who's going to get bullied and transform his life. Maybe that's what the purpose was. I don't worry about the outcome. I focus on what my thought is telling me, and every time I follow that path, that puts me in such a grateful state, that puts me in such a positive state where all these opportunities open up. Right now, God's telling me in my hearts of hearts and giving me all that love and literally transfer my whole surrounding, the relationship around me. I'm like, okay, shit, this is the path. Every time I follow that voice, since it's being called upon me to level the fuck up, every single moment of the day, I'm not in pain. So if you want to know what I'm really trying to promote, it's really a growth mindset that really transforms our physical body and mental state and uplifts our spirit. If you can understand how to do that, which I'm trying to do to show you guys, you're going to be fucking unstoppable. All right, people, some inspiration again, some motivation, some stories for you guys.